How's it going, my truant people? Dr. Slacking, the Slacking Doctor, back with some quick trades and transactions for you for your Bowland Bovines at the end of week 3, I believe, of the UBL. And basically we had, I think we've had 3 weeks now. We played Ultra Player week 1. We played Serene Grace week 2, we played Garchomp the God week 3, and we are currently sitting at a record of 2-1, 2 wins to 1 loss. So we're not doing too bad, we started okay. However, there's been something in building that I've really noticed has been a huge problem. You may notice that, for example, Metagross, I think, has been like a Sugarberry Stealth Rock set, possibly all 3 weeks, but certainly quite frequently. We've had various other things that have just been repeated often. Apes had to come to a lot of games. Salamence has been pretty crucial last week. And one of the things that basically I felt like with this team, having discussed it with Checkmate Ben as well, who was building with me for the first couple of weeks, is that we kind of lack reliable Stealth Rockers, and I don't like our speed control. I don't like Lycanroc as our fastest mon on the draft, well, second fastest behind Whimsicott, but Whimsicott isn't really a late game cleaner. I feel like Lycanroc is not as good as I thought it would be. In fact, I think it's kind of terrible. I think it's kind of a bad Pokemon. So, I wanted to try and make some trains. Swalot also, we agreed, kind of felt like Deadwood because nobody even worried about it as a grounded poison type to suck up T-Spikes. People would just run them anyway because Swalot was not really coming to many matchups. So, yeah, they've kind of gone over some things and we had a look to see if we could make any trades. So, without wasting any more time, let's look at the first Pokemon that we decided to drop, and it won't surprise you that that is Sierra Leone. Like I said, the reason for this was like having a grounded poison type is fine if your opponents even have to think about it, but if, as I found most of my opponents are doing, they just don't even think that it's Pokemon that will ever come, then T-Spikes are still very good against my team. Now, it isn't something that anybody's exploited against me yet. We haven't had T-Spikes set up and been sort of beaten down by that yet, but I don't even want to get to that point. Not to mention the fact that our grounded poison not being able to set up any hazards is not ideal. Swalot, I feel like, is a good budget pickup, maybe in like a more stretched league with lots of coaches, like a massive like 24 coach draft, 26 coach draft, something like that. Then maybe Swalot can do a job. Certainly a low tier format, I 100% believe this thing can do a job. But if you just look at its stat distribution here, it's pretty underwhelming. It's decently bulky, but without, with Gluttony, but no with Recycle, it can't really be that decent. Pain Split's okay. Rest is, you know, rest. So yeah, I just think it needs some form of actual recovery to make it more viable. If this thing had Recycle, I think it would genuinely be quite good, but it doesn't. So regardless, we decided to pick up a better grounded poison that actually could come to more matches and be more useful for the team in Gareth, our Garbodor. Yeah, this is nicknamed after Gareth, of course, mainly just trying to trigger him. I was going to call it Scotland, and then I was like, no, that's mean. So I just called it Gareth instead, which is probably meaner because it's targeted at one person instead of trying to take the mickey out of his whole country. But either way, I was just trying to trigger Gareth. So we have Gareth the Garbodor. Basically, this thing is a little bit more offensive. It's a bit faster. You can see there the extra 20 points in speed, losing 20 from HP, but then gaining like 22 in attack, whilst losing 13 in special attack. So really, like, it can't go mixed like Swalot can, but Swalot was so passive with 73 attack, 73 special attack that it can't really be mixed. It just doesn't really attack at all. Whereas Garbodor at least hits decently hard. But crucially, this thing is a T-Spike absorber that actually can come to games. It can set up T-Spikes itself. It can set up regular spikes itself. Rocky Helmet Aftermath sets could be a good way of punishing like U-turn, for example. In general, I just think it's a more viable mon. Well, it was more expensive than Swalot for starters, so that shows that in general it's considered a more viable mon in the draft format. And I completely understand why. I've never used Garbodor before, but I'm excited to try it out. I think it can maybe do work. And I've seen it drafted a lot recently. It's quite a popular kind of budget pick at the minute. It's kind of in vogue, I think. And I think that is because of the hazard pressure it gives you with spikes plus 2 spikes. It's pretty useful. It's not crazy bulky, but it's bulky enough that if you fully invest, you will be able to live a couple of hits and get spikes up. And like I say, Aftermath can be pretty useful. So, yeah, not a crazy, like, revolutionizing the team here with this pick. But just giving us a more reliable grounded poison and a more reliable hazard setter. Then moving into round 3, moving into round 3, what am I talking about? Moving into second trade, it's because I've got them ordered on my scenes that you guys can't see, like 1, 2, 3, and this one's number 3, of course, nevertheless. So for the next trade, I decided to try and patch up, well, to make this happen, essentially, I had to trade away something of a higher value for something of a lower value because we've just increased Swalot up to a higher value mon in Garbodor. I need to offset that somewhere. I need to make a saving somewhere. So we decided to drop Pat. I say we, I mean me. Ben wasn't keen on this thing being traded at all. However, I felt like whilst this thing is a fantastic Pokemon and was great against Megalopony, we've already faced Megalopony. Hopefully we can avoid it in playoffs if we get to playoffs. But, yeah, I didn't feel like it was... I don't know, it's still great. Like, it's probably the best bulky ghost in the format. It gets up T-Spikes, it's incredible at that. However, I needed to cut back from somewhere, and I felt like Pangoro was a really good Pokemon. Like, a really good Dark type, and having a really good Dark type can be important. I felt like, you know, Salamence became more important. When I used it, I realized that giving us a ground immunity against Serene Grace when I was looking at potentially being reverse swept by my own Choice Scarf Diggersby, it made me realize that having a high tier flying type on my draft is quite important. I want a flying type that will come to a lot of games to give me that ground immunity. So I was like, there are just no higher tier mons that I'm not super keen on. Pangoro and Salamence were the other two that were kind of facing the chop. But there were no others that I really feel like I can warrant trading away. A Dark type and a Flying type are more useful to me than a high tier Ghost. So with that in mind, I decided to trade Pat for a lower tier Ghost in Crystal the Palossand. Now, I know this might seem a little bit odd, because why would I want Palossand over Cofagrigus? And in essence, I wouldn't, but there are two things that Crystal gives me that Pat wasn't, and that is a secondary electric immunity to support Diggersby, because Diggersby doesn't have matchup in every single game, and Diggersby also sometimes is the win con in games. For example, against Serene Grace, Choice Scarf Diggersby was the win con. So, you know, had I come up against a team with, like, Thunderous like I did in week 1, I might have been hesitant to just throw Diggersby out there to sponge up the hits. Like, I might not have wanted to switch it in on potential Focus Blast read and just lose my win con. Secondly, it's not that bulky. It doesn't take that many hits anyway. HP Ices are going to chip it down quite a lot. And thirdly, it isn't a rocker. And this really gives me a reliable rocker to take some pressure off Metagross. Crystal is very bulky. It's very happy just to click Stealth Rocks. It doesn't need a ton of coverage in many games. So, like, you just run Shore Up, Shadow Ball, Earth Power, Stealth Rock in most matches, and you'll be fine. So I really felt like that was the case here with Crystal. I felt like it was just very splashable with Stealth Rocks on every build. Yes, we do not have as good of a Ghost now. Ben and I calced back and forth with these two things, and yes, undoubtedly Cofagrigus will chew up more hits. It will get Will-O-Wisps off. It will be more obnoxious in that way. It'll set T-Spikes, but I didn't need a great T-Spiker. I needed a great Rocker. And at least Crystal gets reliable recovery and Shore Up versus Pain Split, so that's something too, I guess. Like I say, I'm not like thrilled with these trades, but I think that they were necessary evils almost for the team. I didn't want to trade Swalot. I loved Swalot, but Garbodor is just better. I think that overall Cofagrigus is a superior mon to Palossand, but I needed a reliable rocker, which makes Palossand better for my draft. And then moving on to the final trade to try and fix that speed problem I was having, we did drop Cagliostro, which is sad because I love this thing's design. I love the nickname for it. I was really excited to use it. It was one of the things that convinced me to pick up Salamence when I realized I could have this Z and I could have Salamence Z. But literally after week 1, the testing for week 1 plus the battle for week 1, I realized that this thing just, like, it feels like a Mega Sceptile to me. Yes, it's decently fast, but no, it just doesn't pick up KOs. Like, is this even the right stats? I think we might have Lycanroc Dusk stats here, because I think this thing's 115 instead of 112 speed. So I apologize for that. But no, Lycanroc Dusk is 110. That's right. This thing just creeps to 110s. That's correct. But yeah, it just doesn't feel like it's quite strong enough to ever pick up the KOs. It's certainly not bulky enough to ever click Sword Stance, unless you're running like Focus Sash. It just, yeah, I don't know. It gets outsped by a lot of Scarfers. It doesn't want to ever be Scarfed itself. I don't know. I was not feeling this thing when I was playing with it. I was like, yeah, this mon just is not resonating with me at all. So, I dropped it for another form of speed control to take pressure off Infernape and Diggersby to be Scarf every week, which is what I felt like. Yes, I did bring Scarf Diggersby, I think, twice in a row. But this way I can kind of take pressure off that, as I'm going to bring Chum the Sharpedo, because this thing kind of reduces your need for Scarfers with Speed Boost. I've had Speed Boost Scolipede before. Scolipede's a fantastic Pokemon, and I know how killer Speed Boost can be in the late game. Now, this thing does hit slightly harder than Lycanroc with a 120 base attack. It can go mixed with a 95 special attack too, which is pretty cool. It is a little bit frailer, admittedly, less HP, less defenses and stuff, so it doesn't live hits, and it is a little bit slower. However, I really feel like once you've got one speed boost off, in the late game, this thing can just spitball and just roll through teams. It is going to be Z, it is going to take Cagliostro's Z. I don't know how often we will bring Z Sharpedo, possibly never. However, I just think it's going to be really, really good. I have a good feeling about it. I think that it can just rip through teams potentially. And yeah, the best thing to do for the team is to add that reliable Stealth Rocket in Palossand, to add that reliable T-Spike Absorber in Garbodor, and to add this reliable form of speed control in Sharpedo. That hopefully means we can run more like SD Diggersby, more like SD Infernape, more Dragon Dance Salamence, and those three won't be pressured to be Scarf as much. So that's what I'm hoping. That's the plan for this team. Let me know what you guys think of the trades. I know that on paper they look kind of weird, but I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited to use them. I think this overall will make the team a little bit stronger, more well-rounded, even if we've lost some higher tier picks for some lower tier mons. But like I say, I think it makes the team as a whole more rounded. So let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for loafing around with me, and I'll catch you again next time.